Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, checking in. Let me double check, make sure everything's working. I'm gonna take some questions, probably for about a half hour or so, and see what you guys have to ask. But I also want to talk about something. I just wrote an article this week about um, 4 steps getting prepared for Spec Ops, and there's some smart things you should consider on this. First of all, number one is you need to assess yourself. Where are you on getting to the training? Where is your current fitness level on the PST, pass test, whatever fitness test you have to take in order to get selected into this program that you're shooting for? A lot of people don't even know what that is. You need to do your research. So probably number one would be research. Number two would be assess yourself. But anywhere around there, those two are probably number one and two. So not only should you assess yourself on the fitness test to get into your training, but you should also assess yourself on some of the other elements that you're going to be exposed to: longer runs, longer swims, rucking, some of the lift exercises as well. In fact, in the article that I'm talking about, I'll link below in the description. There's a link to an assessment tool for you to just see where you stack up against successful Spec Ops candidates that I've seen through the years. So number one, assess yourself. Number two, once you get that assessment, you now need to set a performance starting line. Don't set some arbitrary timeline like I turn 20, so I'm going to sign up, or I turn 18, I'm going to sign up. That's not a good idea. You need to set your goals of performance to when you start the enlistment officer selection process. Otherwise, you're just going to languish in delayed entry program, failing fitness test after another, and by the end, you might pass with minimum standards, optimal minimums, which is fine. You'll be good at taking fitness tests, but you have done nothing to prepare yourself to get through the training. So that's what most people screw up. They get to the training, they don't get through the training. And it's easy to get in shape for a PST. Doesn't take very long, but it also depends on where you're starting. So set a performance starting line. According to that assessment tool that I just shared, set that. Those are the goals. Now set a starting line. When you hit those goals, now you start rolling. Get on a program. Get on a program that works. Doesn't have to be one of mine. It can be one of your own that you make up, but understand some of the principles of training. Periodization is a very important tool for training. You can't get good at everything at once. If you suck at running and you're weak in the weight room, chances are you're not going to be able to run faster for 1.5 miles or 4 miles while you are trying to get your deadlift up to stronger levels. Just the two don't mix together. Now, what does mix well together is, strength and power, speed and agility, like preseason of football. That works great. If you've done that, that's good. You probably have those elements of fitness already under your belt. However, you probably lack muscle stamina and endurance. So now focus on that cycle. Maintain a few of the other elements, obviously, by throwing in a lift or two, but your focus should not be just lifting. It should be running, swimming, rucking, high rep calisthenics if that's your weakness. And you can determine your weakness by taking that assessment. So get on the right program, understand how to work your year of training so you can focus on those certain elements of fitness. I call it seasonal periodization. I'll put a link down there below for that. You can read more about it. It's just an article that I've written. And finally, do more research. Okay. Not only research into how to train for this, but the job itself. Where are you going to be training? Where are you going to be living? How long's the training? Um, what kind of bonuses do you get? Where do you live whenever you get stationed somewhere in the military? Those are little things that you should know, right? And all the enlistment process as well is can be pretty challenging. And a recruiter may not tell you the full story, and you get sold a bill of goods, and that sucks. So anyway, those are the big four. So I'll take some questions now because I have about 20, 30 minutes to answer some questions. So if you have them, send them. Got a few people watching. Like I said, I'm recording this, so I'll be sharing this on social media as well. So here's a couple things. Doing phase 2 workout right now. Good job. Hey, I hope that works for you. If you have questions about it, ask them. Happy to help you. Especially if you find that it's too hard and you got to pull back, or it's too easy and you want to supplement. Some things you may need to get better at doing that there's not enough running for you, or there's not enough push-ups or something, whatever that is. There's ways you can supplement some stuff into those workouts if need be. Here's a question. Is it bad to run with headphones since I won't have headphones in training? You know what? I don't care, to be honest with you. I don't particularly run with headphones. I have at times on longer runs and I'm just bored. I will turn on my iPhone and just run with it in my hand while I listen to my playlist. But it's up to you. I don't think it's a bad thing. If it makes you run faster, great. Whenever you're running and training, you'll have timed runs that you have to do, and those just suck. They're kind of like individual effort, but all the other runs are going to be in a group, and you're going to be singing cadences and stuff like that. So it's kind of like having music, I guess, if you want to say that. But I don't think it's a bad habit. I don't think it's one you need to break. I don't think by not having music's going to slow you down much. It may be more boring for you, but that's something you have to deal with. Alex says, killing it with the Tactical Fitness 40 Plus Foundation. Oh, good. Good job on week 6, feeling better than ever. That's really what that workout's for. Even though it says 40 plus, it's really just a beginner workout again that helps people start over post-injury, post-illness, post-long time without training. And it just does it in a nice progressive way. So at week 6, you're not broken. You feel better. How's that mobility day? Tell me that, because I introduced that mobility day into my training probably almost 10 years ago, but I didn't really start writing about it till about 5 or 6 years ago. And it has changed my life. And not only do I do it for me and my older folks that work out with me, but I've been doing it with the 20-year-olds, and they love it. And they come back the next day just killing the next workout, better performance than they would have had they skipped that mobility day and gone into that training at, say, 75% of their capabilities. Instead, they probably had that recovery day that helped them, get in that zone of 95%, ready to go. Yeah, I thought you'd think it was a godsend. It's a game changer. It's a life changer, whatever you want to call it. It has been the best. Okay, a couple more questions. 6'4", 260, cutting down to 225-ish. That's good. That's still a big guy. Been running your program maybe 2 months, down 20. Good. Question, should I continue just doing push-ups, pull-ups, biking? Former football and Olympic lifter. It's up to you. I mean, if you need to freshen it up a little bit, add some new stuff, throw some kettlebells in there and sandbags and, bring the weights out. But you don't have to go super heavy either. Just calisthenics, high reps, with weights, dumbbell movements. and keep your cardio up. I would just, whatever workout you're doing, either mix cardio into it by doing, some fun intervals in between sets, or just do that. And on the back end, do a 20 or 30-minute cardio cycle, especially as you're losing that kind of weight. Running heavy hurts. Likely for an injury is high when you are heavier. Just the stress injuries, knee tendonitis, shins, feet, stuff like that. Lower back may bother you. But yeah, I would keep going with what you're doing. I mean, if the calisthenics and cardio are working for you, go with it. And it also depends on how long you've been doing it. If you've been doing it for over, looks like you said maybe 2 months. Okay, good. Yeah, give it another month and then check back with me and see how you're feeling. I usually do those for about 12-week cycles. And then I either do one of two things. I start tapering down, or I crush it another 12 weeks and take it up to another level of higher rep calisthenics, higher running or cardio, maybe add some swimming in there, for some non-impact options. But you definitely could handle another 12, 16 weeks of this if you want to, especially coming from your background of former football player, Olympic lifter. I have seen the best results from those guys if they do a 24-week calisthenic cardio cycle. And you'll be surprised. You're not going to lose a lot of strength doing it either, but you're going to get in some killer endurance and muscle stamina developed, which you need. Those are probably your two weaknesses coming in from a football background. I was there. I remember that transition well, and I needed some time to do that. Okay, more questions. Asking about the PST or the ASVAB. Going to work harder to get the PST scores that I need to have and the right ASVAB requirements. Good. Go get those. Got to do both. I would suggest getting an ASVAB study guide if you have to take that test. Don't go into it having never looked at an ASVAB question. You should take 2 or 3 sample tests before you go take it for real. Otherwise, you're going to disqualify yourself from really cool jobs if you go in there and do poorly on it. So, all right. So what's the most important thing to look for when searching for a PT buddy or a mentor? Good question. I'll write an article on that one, I think. Going to be hitting first duty station soon. I'm looking to get some IRL accountability and companionship. You know what? You'll see them. I would just go to the weight room or where people are PTing, if there's a outdoor PT area, people are doing it, you'll see the regulars. Next thing you know, if you're a regular, people start talking to you, you'll start talking to them, you'll meet a workout buddy, and that's how friends are made in the gym. Yeah, I look forward to hearing how you do on that one. But that's what I would do first, is just get to the gym and make it habitual so you can find some buddies that are doing the same thing, right? Last thing you want to do is really find a buddy that you have to drag along all the time. It's nice to do, and if he can change his ways and push you sometimes, that's great too. But I always found that the guys that are already there are great guys to try to emulate and also try to learn from, and just try to be around and be motivated by them. But in the end, it comes down to you and your self-motivation. So you got to get to the gym first. So what do you suggest one can build a base and increase PT numbers? You know what? I've written an article called the Classic PST Week of Workouts. If you do a Google search with my name in it, you'll see an article on that. I will put that article in here, but typically I do 6 days a week of training, running just about every day, swimming just about every day. Maybe 1 day off. I don't run or swim out of those 6. I do take 1 day completely off. But I do a split routine, upper body, lower body split routine. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or maybe even bump it over to Saturday for that third one. For upper body, 2 days of lower body type exercise, but calisthenic based typically, for this cycle that you're asking for. During my winter cycle, I'll lift, different types of splits, but it's a pyramid routine, it's a superset routine, and it's a max rep set routine. So I written an article about it, show you how to fit it into your week. It works really well. In fact, in a lot of my programs, it is the first week of training. Those 3 workouts can really, even if you did it 4 or 5 times in a row, can show you some big results in pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, running, swimming. There is some lift in there too, with sandbags or dumbbells and stuff like that. So David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar. I like both of those guys. They were fun. I grew up in the 80s, so I know David Lee Roth much better. Listened to more music back then. Let's see. Do you think 225 at 6'4" is too big at SEAL selection? It has been worrying me that I'll be a skeleton. No. It's big. It's about as big as you want to be, because here's the problem. If you're too much over 225, it gets really hard on the grippers whenever you are doing the O course. And there's 2 places where the big guys suffer at BUD/S, and that is the obstacle course and 4-mile timed runs if they're not great runners. They typically do really well with a big pair of fins on, crush the swims. If they're really too lean, though, they can have a hard time treading, but everybody has a hard time treading pretty much out there. But yeah, I don't think it's too big, but it's, like I said, you'll be probably the biggest guy there. Most guys are probably 180 to 195, maybe 200. May get a few guys over 200, and they're the big guys of the class typically. Let's see. What do we got here? Let's see. No signal here, but got all your intro. Sorry. Adding elements of Murph to 40+ foundation rebuilding. Good. Like you suggested, with some fills and some confidence issues, but yeah, you're welcome. Many thanks. Thank you. Yeah, that Murph is a lot of fun. You can play around with that. We've been doing a lot of pyramids with that one. Been following you and Jeff for a while. I've done Jeff's BUD/S prep program, and I notice y'all have 2 different thought processes when it comes to types of programs you sell for selection. Yeah, but they're more similar than you think. They're just a little bit different in how we get you to a place. I always tell people I have a way to train, not the way to train. And the goal is muscle stamina and endurance, strength, power, speed, agility, flexibility, mobility. That's what you build up to, right? And hitting those standards. You can get there a couple of different ways, several different ways, right? So there are people who are, never heard of Stu Smith or Jeff Nichols, and they're making it through BUD/S. So it's not the only way to do it. So my suggestion is see which one works for you best. Which one do you like? That's fair. I think both of them work quite well. Any advice for training for SARC pipeline? Yeah, just you got to go through the recon course. So you need to do recon training, running, swimming, calisthenics. It's going to be your test, 3-mile timed runs. You're going to be swimming with fins. Eventually, you're going to be diving, swimming with big scuba fins. Now, the SARC pipeline or the recon pipeline is really tough. Their 500 is you got to swim it in pants and top, which slows you down significantly. So get good at swimming with a lot of drag, because that's a tough one. Let's see. How would you track your open water swims without a buddy and not using a watch that can track it, unless you recommend investing in one? I would just go old school, and I mean, get a watch that tells time so you know how fast you're going. Um, but if you have a beach, usually there's a road that runs parallel to that beach, and I would click the odometer in the car and just start driving till you get whatever your turnaround point, half a mile, whatever, and note it where that is, and then go out to the beach, see where that is. I draw a line in the sand, put a flag up, do something, and swim to that area from where you started. Right? So mile down, mile back, easy day. I mean, you could even get on the beach and take steps. Every step you take is going to be about a yard. So, walk a mile. That's 1,800 yards. Count them. That's old school. You can do it. What's a good way to become a swimmer when you have absolutely no record of swimming other than your backyard? Well, I was never a competitive swimmer. You don't have to be a competitive swimmer to join Spec Ops. I'm assuming that's what you're doing. If you're becoming a swimmer, then I would suggest get a swimming coach and learn how to swim, join a swim team, right? Because no Spec Ops guy is training to become a swimmer. They're training to become a member of a Spec Ops unit. So it's two different animals, right? You don't have to be a great swimmer to be in Spec Ops. You just need to be competent and confident in the water so you don't drown. And it doesn't have to look necessarily pretty, right? You put on a big pair of fins and you can outswim everybody. That's really all that matters. So I would suggest getting a coach and getting in the pool 5-6 days a week if you want to become a good swimmer. I tell all my guys too, Spec Ops level swimming, you need to be swimming 5-6 days a week. In fact, I have an article. I will link it in the description below for both running and swimming, PST related, getting better at those. There's some good workouts in there that you should be able to do, just every day. And it's a good standard. Let's see. What would you recommend a guy? Man, where'd that go? What would you recommend to a guy already in depth that has to work out at 6 a.m. with a mentor, then go to work, landscaping, then doing your or Jeff's program in the afternoon, mixing in MMA, jiu-jitsu? I would say stop the MMA jiu-jitsu, because out of all of those, that's probably the one that's going to get you injured. I can't tell you how many times I have had guys in the pipeline or delayed entry program pipeline that go do that in the afternoon, and then one day they walk up to me, they can't train anymore because they just broke their hand. That's just stupid, right? Or they got stitches, right? And they can't swim now, right? Once again, just stupid. You need to start taking your training seriously. You don't need MMA jiu-jitsu right now. You need to focus on crushing that PST. And then once you crush that PST, you start focusing on getting through the training and preparing for the actual events at Buds that you're going to be seeing every day at Buds. 4-mile timed runs, 2-mile swims, logs on your shoulders, boats on your heads, obstacle courses, high rep calisthenics, grinder PT. That's what you should be. That's what your day should look like. But I do like the fact that you're working out in the morning, then you're going to work doing manual labor. That's very smart. I did the same thing. And then you go and do a program in the evening. But here's the problem. I would make sure whatever program you're doing is fitting in with what your mentor is doing. If your mentor has you doing a lot of squats and lunges and stuff like that, that's your leg day, right? Just go with that. And so in the evening, that should be your leg day as well. You should be doing leg workouts, or maybe make it a ruck or a swim with fins. then the next day you can go in and make that your upper body day, because here's where people screw up. They'll do whatever the book says or whatever, and it doesn't match with what their mentor's doing that day. And then next thing you know, you've done 4 days a row of upper body, not scheduled in my programming, but you've been supplementing others into it as well. And 4 days of upper body, 5 days of upper body, do that for multiple weeks. Next thing you know, you're falling apart with your upper body. So especially at this high volume. So good question. I would seriously start taking it seriously. I wrote an article a while back ago. I'll put it in here. But eventually you need to start taking things seriously about your training and be ready and avoid getting hurt, avoid getting hammered, and because that just screws up your recovery. I mean, there's a lot of things that you should really now start taking more seriously, because you have to bring your A game, right? This isn't just some fun little challenge that you go do. This is serious stuff, and that's why most people don't make it, because they don't bring their A game. All right. Good questions today. What's the average amount of water I should be drinking? Depends. How much are you sweating? I typically drink a gallon a day, but don't drink too much, because that's not good either. If you're sweating a lot, you need to be adding in a lot of electrolytes as well. Salt, sodium, potassium, magnesium, all of those will help you. So let's see, more questions. So yeah, if you're sweating a lot, you need some electrolytes too, not just water. But I typically drink a gallon a day. In fact, this is a little cup here full of water. Drink 4 or 5 of those. Gives me a gallon. Let's see. How detrimental is recovery in an activity like rock climbing, BJJ, in addition to the intermediate trainee who's close to optimal numbers in most categories? It depends. I mean, I wouldn't do that stuff every day. But if you're getting close to shipping out and an injury would completely derail your goals and, shipping out process date, it would postpone everything, I would seriously stop. Getting hurt is going to screw you up. Getting sick is going to screw you up. Take this current situation seriously. You can, stay away from people that you think are sick, or at least, potentially positive, because you catching this illness, even if you caught bronchitis or the flu or pneumonia, that sucks. That'll set you back 3 or 4 months, with optimal training. I don't know what this would do. I don't want it. I don't want the flu either. Let's see. I weigh 175-ish. Is that too light? No, that's perfect. Run and swim, complete almost all PT workouts in your workout, but I'm not gaining weight. Should I change training until I hit 185? No, it also depends on what what your height is. If you're 5 foot nothing, that's a different story. But if you're closer to 6 feet, you're in the zone. I mean, I would say I was 6 feet, 195, 190, 195 going through buds. Probably could have been a little lighter, would have made running a little easier. Running was my challenge. I think we all have some form of challenge. Running was mine. But I mean, I did well at running. I didn't fail anything. It was my gut check every day to do well. But yeah, I'd say anywhere between 170 and 180 is great. As long as your height's, 5'10", to 6 feet. Let's see. Can someone who runs a 10-minute mile and a half make it through buds? That's tough. Can you run a 28-minute 4 mile? Because that 10-minute mile and a half is a sub 7 mile. So it depends. You're not going to get tested but once at Buds for the 1.5 miles. Every week you'll get tested for a 4-mile run. So I don't really care how fast you run a 1.5 miles. That may get you 2 buds at 10 minutes. You know, it's probably a little slow, but you should be able to hit a 7-minute mile for 4 miles when you're at Buds, or long before you go to Buds. Put it this way, a 4-mile run at 28 minutes should be not a gut check, right? It should be in a zone where you could do it on a bad day. And if you have a really bad day, you get 29 or 30 and you still pass the test, because you're going to have a standard you have to hit as well. All right. So I actually have to go work out right now. I take one more question. Let's see. All right, we're going to take the 8th grader's question here. Hey, I'm only in 8th grade and want to become a SEAL officer. Is there anything I should be doing to prepare for this early? No. What you should be doing is living your life and, you know, go play sports, do well in school, leadership challenges like become a team captain or, you know, president of a club over your class. You know, and you got to go to college. So you have another 4 years of high school and 4 years of college before any of this matters. Just start doing well. I mean, I didn't know I wanted to be a SEAL till I was 20, right? But you know what I did in 8th grade? I was lifting weights. I was getting ready for sports season that was coming up. I played a sport every semester. I worked hard to make good grades in school. And I got accepted into the Naval Academy, which was a very big challenge of mine when I was a young kid. I didn't know I wanted to be a SEAL. I wanted to be a pilot at first. But I knew I wanted to serve somehow. I didn't know how. So that was kind of set me on a path of working hard. And then when I got to the academy, I made a decision to, instead of being a pilot, go in the other direction. And you know, like I said, I didn't realize that goal until I was 20. So it's awesome that you have that goal now, but you know, you can always do things to prepare for Buds without preparing for Buds. And that is just kicking ass in whatever life event you're doing, because that's what matters, right? And have fun. You're a kid. Go be a kid. Lift weights, play video games, run, swim, work out, play sports, study hard in school. How about that? That's a good way to end it. All right. So here we go. That's it for today. I'll come back again next week and we'll take some more questions. If you have questions that I did not get to, I apologize. Please send them to me. You can just cut and paste them and pull them right into the description below. I'll answer them. And I'll put in some links into this description as well once this renders. And you guys check out those links because it explains in greater detail a lot of these questions that I answered. So until next time, check out Stu Smith Fitness. We'll see you.